an important question. How do you plan to keep businesses and customers in the downtown area once Highway 111 is completed?
Okay, one of the things that I think we need to do, though, is clean up the downtown area a little bit. It needs some cleanup. We'll be working on parking lots. So if I'm elected, we'll continue that effort. They've already, last council meeting, they agreed to re-upgrade one of the parking lots there by the American Legion. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Yes.
It's in pretty bad shape, and a lot of people park there. And so that's one upgrade. But I think they can do some upgrades on some of the other parking. They need to put lighting in. It would be nice if you could get the businesses to open up back entrances. That's been gone out now. It used to be in the old days that happened, but now then you can't hardly get them to do that because of theft and because of other issues that occur with that separate entrance. I would like to see a couple of breezeways made through the downtown area where that you could go from the rear parking into the main area, the main street right there. And so I think that would be a good thing. I think a beautification program would work well. Maybe calling some of the absentee landowners and getting them either to give up their property or do something relative to some of that property. There's quite a few absentee landowners there or property owners there, and I think we could do some things with that. That would be my start. I think we're going to have some seminars and stuff as to how they do business based upon some of the other things happening in town. Like, say, Super Walmart came in. You could have some people come down and educate the business community, the small business community, about what they need to do to develop a market for themselves or a niche for themselves so that they can do business with and compete with the Walmarts and the other businesses that I think are going to be coming in along the bypass. I think that's going to be a bigger issue. Businesses are going to be moving out by the bypass. How do you revitalize the downtown? I also think we've done some things in downtown that may not be correct, and we may not have a lot of power over that as a city, but you've got businesses going in downtown that are not really retail. You've got churches, you've got other things that are going in there, and I'm not against churches. I just don't know that they belong right on the main street where you would normally have retail business, because in some ways the parking situation for them will detract from business, and in other ways it's not a retail business, so it doesn't attract retail customers per se. And so I think that's kind of a problem for Brawley. I don't know whether we have a lot of control over that, but it's something we need to look at. The other thing I have as an idea is we might defer some of the fees and some of the charges for small businesses. Now, we'd have to set a level as to what we consider to be a small business, and then maybe defer some of the fees when they first get started. Maybe get some kind of MOUs or agreements in place so that when a small businessman comes in, he can set up a business without some of the upfront charges, because otherwise what happens is it seems to discourage people because it takes them so much money up front to get started on a small business.
Okay.
So those are my ideas.
Kind of along the same lines, how do you plan to bring in businesses into the city and that kind of Highway 111 area? I mean, what would you do to kind of attract those businesses?
Well, it's within the enterprise zone area, so certainly there's some incentive for them to do that. We also do the workforce development programs over there, and so there's an incentive to come and do business in Brawley, as there is around the valley, except Brawley does have the enterprise zone, as Calexico does, and so there's some incentive there, additional incentive for them to come in, because the enterprise zone not only provides tax credits for hiring of employees, it also provides certain loan guarantee type things. It gives them a lower interest rate. It gives them some ability to write off the taxes that they pay on equipment purchases. So there's a variety of little things that go in with the enterprise zone. So that will serve as part of an attraction for that area. The other area is infrastructure. We have to develop some infrastructure over in that area. How we go about doing that through grants, maybe through the ERA money, although it may not be quick. That may not happen within this ERA funding, this first round of ERA funding. So we may have to look at special grants from EDA or from other organizations within the federal or state government to try to develop more infrastructure in that area, and that would attract business. Once you have infrastructure in, business tends to come.
Right.
The problem we have in Brawley, as we have across Imperial County, is we don't have that infrastructure in place in many cases, or there's not buildings they can readily access or anything like that. One of my ideas is maybe to develop an industrial park area over in that area. We have an industrial park in Brawley, but it's impacted severely right now. I think all the spaces are purchased or they're utilized for business, or else someone owns them. So we need another industrial park. It would be nice to locate that over on that 111 corridor, because you've got a lot of trucking that'll be coming in probably from the Calexico, Mexicali area down through that corridor, and then a lot of trucking coming in from LA from the bypass area. Right. So I think there's some opportunity there. Actually, the bypass area, I think as it gets started and over the years, and it may be a series of years of development, I think it will be probably something that'll be where a lot of businesses will locate, just by the nature of it and the nature of that corridor and that economic corridor that flows between Mexico and L.A.
Right.
I think there'll be some movement over there.
Okay, good. Thank you. Graffiti is another issue that has been kind of risen to the forefront in Brawley in at least recent months. Is there anything that you would do differently than the city is doing now to combat graffiti?
I think that I might work, I know they are doing some of this, but I think I might try to work closer with probation, with the judges, with the courts, and coordinate that with the police department and the activity that goes on there. They're doing that now much more than what they did in the past, and we do have some of that going on. I talked to the police chief. I've spoken with probation. I'm in a meeting, an ISC meeting, the Interagency Steering Committee meetings, where we meet with the chief of police in Brawley, and we meet with some of the judges and some of the probation people. And we've talked a little bit about that. The problem is most of the people that are doing that are juveniles. And so when you take them into custody, a lot of times they're released almost immediately back to their parents. One of the things I think I might do is look at something, if we could put something in place to have the parents of the juveniles have to pay for the cleanup of any kind of graffiti that they're caught doing. Now, they've put some cameras in. They've got better enforcement. It looks like we are improving on the graffiti area. I know that my political signs have not been graffitied, which I think is kind of a remarkable situation. It's considering they're large and they're posted out there. And I haven't noticed a lot of graffiti on any political signs, so I don't know what kind of impact that is, but that's kind of an interesting side note on that. I think maybe that's what I would do, is a little bit more coordination and maybe a little bit more look at how do we get people to pay. I don't necessarily think they need to be jailed. I just think that people need to pay. If a juvenile, if my son commits something and does something that's destructive, I would expect to have to pay. So I would want the same from other parents out there. And I think that would work to resolve part of the issue. I think we've had graffiti throughout history. I think we're going to continue to have some graffiti. I don't know that we can resolve it all. The other thing we have going is some graffiti abatement programs where we do have some of the juveniles come out, they repaint the walls. We have young people that volunteer from the schools, and then we have a coordinated effort between the city and the chamber and everything. And those need to continue. Every 3 or 4 months, we probably ought to have a little program where we go out and paint things and also encourage businesses to immediately erase graffiti, because what happens is if it stays for a couple of days, then it encourages other graffiti. But if you get in there immediately and take some action, usually that'll work.
Okay, that's true.